Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into this conversation. And I also just want to say a massive thank you to Abby for being willing to share your experience with everybody. This is fun because one theme that I know you and I have talked about again and again during your time in Charting Shakti has been really bringing the tendrils of self back in to your own experience and remembering that we don't necessarily have to be an open book to everyone about everything and that constant oversharing doesn't, get us any kind of gold star, that sometimes having
Mm.
boundary or limits around what we share actually makes what we share and what we decide to be open about more precious. So I know that with you, someone that's been living with PCOS and walking alongside that in your journey, is something that can feel really tender and really personal and really unique. So I just want to say a really, really big thank you for being willing to be open about your story with everybody. So we're going to get into charting, get into the program, get into your experience with all of that. But first of all, I would just love to invite you to introduce yourself to people. Who are you? Where are you? What do you do? What's a little bit about who Abby is?
Sure thing. Thank you for, having me and allowing me to share my story and my experience in this container. It's been really amazing. And so my name is Abby. I'm from Massachusetts, but I live in Vermont, and I am a farmer. I do a lot of animal sitting, teach them lessons, teach yoga, bunch of odd jobs, but
Mhm.
mostly earth-based jobs are my favorite.
Yeah, I can't think of a better title to have than farmer. Like, thank you. Thank you for growing all of the food that we all eat and getting into the dirt with your hands. Now, I
Mhm.
honestly can't even remember our exact timeline of when we
Mhm.
first would have met and when you would have joined Charity Shakti, but it definitely would have been like probably around 13 months ago, like around 13 moons ago, like probably just over a year ago. So I remember we were emailing a little bit and you were on a trip and we were trying to find a time to meet because you wanted to find out more about the program. So I would love if you could just take us back to that version of you, where you were at that time in your relationship to your body and to your cycle.
Mhm. Yeah, so at that time, I think it was around February of last year, so you were right on the money
Hmm.
with that. And around that time, I was just getting back home from travels abroad, and I just remember my relationship with my body was, I felt close. I had, rituals around my bleed and had knowledge about um, the four seasons or the four phases of our cycle, and wanted to go deeper. I just
Hmm.
wanted more tangible, like tangible ways to work with my body and
Hmm.
ways like logic-based things that I could see on paper that were like, this is what my body's doing. How can I track this? And of course,
Hmm.
with as a form of contraception and
Hmm.
to aid in PCOS was a huge help along the way. So that
Hmm.
was kind of what brought me into that, and just wanting to further, yeah, get to know myself through FAM.
Yeah, FAM, Fertility Awareness Method, tracking our cervical mucus and our basal body temperature. I love so much that you're like, I already knew a thing or two. Like I knew about the four seasons of the cycle. You were spiritually connected to your blood, which already puts you in such a special group of people that, have moved past the shame and kind of the embarrassment around all of it. And yeah, really hearing you and like, but you wanted something tangible. That's the word that I heard you say. You wanted a more tangible idea of really what was going on, especially, relating to walking with PCOS. So could you tell us a little bit more about your motivation in wanting to learn FAM or fertility awareness method when it came to understanding your hormones and your body and your cycle better related to polycystic ovarian syndrome?
Yeah, yeah. So I was diagnosed with PCOS a couple of years ago and have had since then a few signifiers that I do obviously have that, and wanted to basically figure out why my cycle was being a little funky, why there was just like dots that needed to be connected in my brain,
Mm.
as opposed to, floating about trying to figure out. things for myself, Google searching, I thought that this container would like encapsulate a lot of that knowledge that I was seeking, and
Hmm.
especially with the, one-on-one calls, just getting to dive into the PCOS and what polycystic ovarian syndrome kind of meant for hormones, meant for um, just cyclically. And
Hmm.
did that answer any of it, or did I just like
Yeah.
dance around?
No, it answered it perfectly. What really stood out to me was when you said, I don't know the exact words, it doesn't matter, but you said something around like, I wanted to be able to connect the dots in my brain instead of floating around Google searching things. And I
Yeah.
think that that is really the golden nugget right there, because what I often say to people is, I'm not a healthcare practitioner. Diagnosing you or doing blood work with you is definitely above my pay grade. But the power of body literacy education so that you can be a better advocate along
Yeah.
your healthcare journey, so that you can have this integrated approach of knowing how your doctor is going to serve you best, how your spiritual rituals are going to serve you best, but then you being the sovereign queen in the middle with not only the heart knowledge and the somatic connection, but the brain knowledge of like, I understand the conversations that my, medical providers are having, so I can be
Right.
more fully engaged with all of it. And I can
Hmm.
therefore get more of the care that I need from the medical system, because I know how to be an active participant in it rather than kind of be in this like, damsel state of just, hoping that something is going to come along and clean all of this up for me, and instead stepping into like, okay, I actually have to be an active participant in this. And that's what I really hear from you in like your desire to join the program, learn to chart, yes, for contraception and birth control, which is effective and amazing, but also just more so for your ability to advocate for yourself and be more
Hmm.
involved as a self healer along your journey.
Hmm.
Yeah, would you agree with that?
Yeah, very well said. I
Hmm.
agree.
And so, did you have any
Hmm.
hesitancies when it came to wanting to join the program and learn fertility awareness method?
Yeah, I think the first one was, do I really need this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is this really something that I want to put this money towards, put this time towards, and put this like brain power towards? And I think after hopping on a call with you, it was pretty clear to me that there was a lot that this container would offer that wouldn't be offered in many other spaces that I had come across. So that was really clarifying to be on that call and to, yeah, just have that time one-on-one to talk about the my personal things that I was going through at that time, and then also just getting the broader overview of the program, or a little
Hmm.
more nitty-gritty details as well.
Yeah. Do you remember what some of those pieces were that you were like, oh, I've done group programs. I've done self-development. I've learned about my sensual self in, paid containers. What was it that you kind of were like, oh, I don't hear anyone else talking about this or teaching about this? What were some of those kind of pieces for you that you said stuck out that you hadn't really seen anyone else covering?
Yeah. So I think it was the integration of the science. Like I know you always say you love the nerdy part of
Yeah.
it, the scientific aspect. So that really got me excited,
Yeah.
and integrating the science with the spiritual, with the mind body, with the somatic, like that felt fully encapsulating of what I was looking for. And I
Hmm.
didn't see many other like fam based containers
Hmm.
weave all of that together.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's like we don't just want, like it ends up being for a lot of people, they learn to chart their cervical mucus and their basal body temperature and maybe do like ovulation P test strips. And maybe they're doing that perfectly. And it's still all neck up, right? Like they're still
Yeah.
very much living in a bit of a fretful mind or a bit of an over evaluating mind when it comes to every single
Mhm.
little temperature thing. And sometimes I see in the fertility awareness method community, like the Facebook groups that are a bit of a gong show sometimes. There's a lot of anxiety still around it, not because they're not confident in their ability to do their charting, but because there's a general mindset that it's still a form of like control that people are trying to seek over their body, right? To like see the biomarkers and know them and kind of do something with them to better control. And I feel like that would also probably feel really tempting, likely, if you are living with something like PCOS, right? Rather than being like, I'm here to listen to the body through the
Right.
nerdy biomarkers of the chart and just walk with it and dance with it and learn not to maybe fret over every small little thing, but like zoom out cycle to cycle, learn to understand the patterns. And a big one for you that I would love to ask you about is like being able to look at our charting, like you said, that tangible, grounded, knowledge-based way of relating to our cycle, not just only sensing, feeling, but really knowing. Um, Being able to know and see, like, wow, these are the shifts I'm making in my lifestyle, in my health, in my supplement regimen, in my acupuncture treatments, and insert whatever modality someone's using to support themselves. And I can see what my chart is reflecting about that, whether my body is really appreciating that healing modality, or whether it's not really moving the mark on anything. So I would love to hear more from you about that specifically. Like you're in the program, you've been in the program for the 9 moon journey, and what really happened in Abby's health journey with your charting, with your connection to your body, with your working with various healing modalities to support your hormone balance and your healing.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing that came to mind was when I was diagnosed, I had got off of birth control, the IUD about a year before, and I just broke out so intensely with cystic acne. And that had been kind of a point of contention for some time and was struggling to figure out, am I going to go back on um, medication to be kind of a band-aid for this? And that just wasn't for me. And I didn't want to go back on birth control. So I felt kind of at a standstill in that front. And I think charting had me looking at my cycle, knowing what was happening. And then also, when I did bring in that other supplement, which worked so well, I got to
Mhm.
see what was happening internally when I was also getting to see externally what was happening.
Mhm.
So my cycles were getting longer, ovulation was getting longer, my luteal phases were getting longer. And
Which is a good
it
thing
just,
for anyone that's like
yeah,
longer cycles. That's a good thing. You'll understand that if you take the program. Go ahead, Abby. Sorry.
no, it's okay. No, it's good, good shout out.
Yeah.
And it just felt like more juiciness, more vitality in my body, and
Mhm.
there was just a big improvement. But the cool part was being able to see it all on many months of charting
Mhm.
and being able to see like day to day or cycle to cycle what parts were shifting. And yeah, like in the notes part, just being able to put, how was I on this day? How was I on this day? Yeah, just having many different modalities to track how my body was reacting to that medication or that supplement was
Mhm.
great.
Which is amazing, even in that really practical way, also, hey, of like, okay, this is a supplement worth spending my money on because it's
Hmm.
actually moving the mark in my health. And not just from like, okay, I went from having like 24-day cycles to these perfect 28-day cycles necessarily. But as you said, like really not only having body literacy, but would you agree with body fluency? Right?
Yeah.
Body
Yeah.
fluency of
Mhm.
like, I can see in my charts the reflection of improved hormone health. I can see not just over the length of, 28, 30 days between my bleeds, but I can see the robust cervical mucus that's creating
Mhm.
healthy ovulation and then a really nice, sufficient, balanced luteal phase, right? In which then we also are having a more peaceful premenstrual time before our bleed, right? That's also a result of happier, healthier hormones, right? And so, that's just so powerful to hear that I definitely remember. I want to say by the time you hit like chart 5, chart 6, it was just like I'm just commenting on the charts you're sharing with me to have my eyes on them, where I'm like, perfect. Textbook, fantastic cycle. Like, this is exactly what we want to see. And it was so cool to see you reflect the data from the chart in your lived experience. Yeah, of like, yeah, I feel a little bit more of a pep in my step. I feel more of that energy. I feel more of that vitality, which is fantastic. Another little question for you is, how do you feel your own personhood of yourself, of Abby, also shifted through the experience of the program, beyond that like beautiful confident skill of like, I can chart my cycle as effectively as literally you possibly can for pregnancy avoidance and for insights into my health beyond that like super tangible, practical, real life skill. What else shifted for you over the last year?
Yeah, so I mean, so much. Um, First thing that comes to mind is, confidence and body literacy and that feeling of knowing what's going on in my body and that matching really beautifully with, the more spiritual side that I've been delving into like the time before, but it felt like a molding of both of
Mm,
those. And
mm,
yeah, and it was just it felt like in sexual situations with other partners, I was able to speak my truth and say, "Hey, I want this and I don't want that." And in
mm,
the past, I would just bulldoze over that
mm,
no that I was feeling in my body. And then a day later, I would feel it. I would feel that residual, sorrow. And being able to stand in my truth and say, "Yeah, I don't want that." And being
mm.
met with, "Okay, cool,"
Yeah.
was so liberating and felt so good. um, so I think that was a huge, golden nugget from the program was body literacy.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. The body literacy when it comes to charting, understanding hormonal changes practically, and then also the body
Hmm.
literacy on that like connection level of like what feels like a yes for me right now? And what's a
Hmm.
no? What's the clarity of my no? What's the clarity of my yes? So I can more fully lean into whichever one it is with confidence. I mean, and that's like life trajectory changing things where something changes by 3%. And then the
Hmm.
experiences you have over the next 20 years because of that shift in the relationship with your body and yourself, had this little starting point where it was just like, tick, opening something up a
Yeah.
little bit. And now we're just going to start going on, a very different path than we would have originally. So I love that for you. I'm just so happy to hear that. I think that we in our culture and society vastly underestimate the shift you're talking about. Yeah, I
Hmm.
really, really think so. Um, and my next question is, how was your experience in just like working with me in the program with all of those practical pieces, the modules, the learning pathway, the live calls, the embodiment practices you could listen to on your own time? How was all of that for you? The
It was
connecting with the
fun.
other women?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really enjoyable and fun time. I think the live calls were a great way to integrate all of the individual stuff we were doing and having like in the videos along the way, you'd stop and ask questions or have us take 3 seconds, answer it in our heads, like that teaching style that really helps you imprint
Mm,
things and keep
mm,
it keep it in the brain.
yeah.
That was really helpful. And yeah, it was really sweet to again have that somatic aspect of
Mm,
the container and being able to, move with the seasons and having like
mm,
um calls about the archetypes and just
mm,
weaving that wisdom in there. It all
mm,
felt very, very fluid and
mm.
there was a lot of opportunity for connection too, which I loved.
Yeah. Oh, and I love you saying all these little juicy things to people because we know I love to underpromise and overdeliver. So they're like, "What? Calls about the archetypes?" I'm like, "Yes, in 2 months I'm doing another called the Young Maiden Renaissance. And we're going to talk about returning to the innocence of the young maiden. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Um, a couple more questions for you, my love, which is what is your number one biggest takeaway of the entire program? I know it's hard, but just go with your gut, go with your instinct. What is that like that one phrase, that one big piece of like a mantra you can take with you forever, just based on everything you gathered?
I think, or I think, nope, I know the word that comes to mind and feels the most true to me is autonomy and being able to speak my truth and know what's going on for myself and be able to
Mm.
communicate that in medical spaces and with loved ones. And that really felt like a huge takeaway for me, if not the biggest.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I'm so happy to hear that. And what are you looking forward to next in your journey? Now that you've completed the program, that you're a pro charter, that your hormones are reflecting health and balance, that your skin is healing and glowing, what's next for you?
Hmm. Just, I don't know, continuing on with charting and getting out there, meeting people, having great sex, you know, enjoying enjoying this life. I don't have a lot of specific plans for my future in like the near
Yeah.
future. I don't really there's nothing going on in terms of like babies in the future, but now that I know that I have this tool in my pocket for
Mm.
the long term, when I do want to have babies, that's there. And that feels really great. So
Yeah. Yeah.
lots of good.
Yeah, and you're so prepped for perimenopause in a way that you can't even conceive that you're prepped for perimenopause because it's like so down the road for you, but I'm just so excited for you to continue to reap and benefit the beautiful harvest of the life skill of fertility awareness method that you took the time to sow in this
Mm,
chapter of your life, right? Because it's only going to continue reaping like a beautiful fruit tree. You know what I mean? That just like continues to show its vast gifts the more and the more years that we work with it. So I just love that you're so happy with where you're at with the skill after 1 year. And I'm just like excited to hear from you in 30 years when this mane of mine is white and maybe you've had a couple kids, maybe you haven't, who knows? But either way, you will have definitely had good sex, which you mentioned was on your list. So I could not be any happier that that is something that you have listed in your future plans, even without specific visions. That is such a great part to have with all of it. So my last two questions is, who would you recommend to take Charting Shakti if your answer can't be everybody, every woman? Who would you recommend should take Sharding Shakti?
mm. Someone who should take charting Shakti. Yeah, someone who feels like they need or want or are craving more relationship with themselves, with their body. And I think also maybe are wanting to dive deeper into, I don't know, the mysteriousness that society has created around the human
Mm.
cycle, and just wanting to, peel away those layers that are, some are myths, some are truths, but just getting to know, yeah, the truth about your body.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that coincides with some medical
Hmm.
medical like confusion that doctors have been like, oh, we don't know what's going on with you. And sometimes like not saying that you're gonna like heal everyone,
Yeah.
but like I think it can be a really beautiful entryway into this work is neat having someone to stand by your side and, nudge you in the right directions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just giggled because that was just such a good impersonation. It's just a medical mystery to us.
I don't know.
Science doesn't know. But you're like, the wise women in the forest for some reason have seemed to have figured it out. Interesting. How interesting is that? Uh,
Yes.
But my last question is, what would you say to someone who's watching this right now that's curious? They maybe want to join, they maybe want to book a call with me to find out more. They're on the fence. Maybe they've had a call with me, they're a bit hesitant. What would you say to someone who's considering learning deeper with me? But yeah, is just feeling a little bit like you did, which a lot of people feel. Do I really need this? I know when I ovulate. I can
Mm.
feel it though. Like, yeah, I'm like, I know about the seasons. I make a
Hmm.
chili for myself when I'm on my period. I have a smoothie in my inner summer. Like, I already know. I think if I just get a fertility awareness method book, I think I'll be able to figure it out on my own. What would you say to that person?
Yes. So first thing, you can totally get the book. You can
Yeah,
totally do that stuff. But
absolutely.
the beauty of the container is to have a village around you while you're doing this work.
Mhm.
And to have Emily here to help you integrate the things you're learning. It's like you can learn as much as you
Mhm.
want, but to have someone in real time help you to process all of that, it's such a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
So I would
Mhm.
say that and book the call. There's no
Mhm.
harm in booking a call. Like
Mhm.
that's probably the number one thing that I would recommend. Or
Mhm.
number two, three.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so
All of
much
the
for
above.
yeah, thanks so much for sharing of that. And you reminded me that earlier you had said that piece of like what you're mentioning now about the integration of the learning of having me on the call on the video be like, "Okay, you learned that last week. Pause right now, 30 seconds. Repeat back to me what you understood." Right? It's like that's a
Mhm.
very different style of learning than having read a chapter in a book last week and kind of being like, "I know it, I got it," but not having that mirror to be like, pause, tell me, would you be considering yourself fertile or not today? How confident are you in that? So yeah, that's
Exactly.
that's really special. And yeah, just such an honor also to have you in there with us. Yeah, just really happy to get to know you on this life path of yours. And you just coming up with that word autonomy, it just makes me feel so thrilled and fulfilled myself to know that there is another powerful, wise woman out there in the world, feeling more grounded, embodied, confident, and in connection with her womb and her
Mhm.
cycle. So thanks for showing up to do the brave work of that, because I know that you're going to be a frequency and a light to just be able to talk about that with other people and encourage them to lean in as well. So thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Emily. All the same to you. And it's been such an honor to be in this container and
Mm,
learn and grow with you as well.
yeah.